Hello, educators. I'm Tanya with Side by Side Educational Consulting. Thanks for joining me for today's Quick Tip Tuesday. So today we're focusing in on the topic of what's called the alphabetic principle. First, I want to explain what it is, next, why it's important, and then give you a few key tips for instruction. The alphabetic principle has two parts. First is phonemic awareness, which is the ability to discriminate between and manipulate individual speech sounds in words called phonemes. Next is letter knowledge. That is the ability to recognize the various letter shapes and match them with their letter name. Now, in early literacy, these two trajectories are on somewhat of a separate track for a time period. Children will be learning them concurrently, but they will not yet be connected. Once children understand the alphabetic principle, they're able to translate the letters in printed words into sounds they make to read and pronounce words accurately. They also recognize that words are made up of letters that represent the sounds of speech. The alphabetic principle is critical in reading and understanding the meaning of text. And in typical reading development, children learn to use the alphabetic principle fluently and automatically. This allows them to focus their attention on understanding the meaning of the text, which is that primary purpose of reading. Learning and applying the alphabetic principle takes time and is difficult for many children. There are many letters to learn the sounds of, and there are many ways to arrange the letters to produce the vast number of different words used in print. So let's talk about some tips for helping support instruction. First, when building phonological awareness, the understanding of the sound structures in the language, starting from sentences, moving to words, syllables, onset and rhyme, and finally phonemes. When building phonological awareness, we want to start where it's easiest. So we're going to start over here with those larger chunks of the language, like sentences and words. Most students will catch on to those first, but here's the caveat. We don't want to wait for students to master one level, say segmenting words, before they move on to that next level. You can work on multiple skills at the same time. With that said, the two most critical skills are blending and segmenting phonemes, individual sounds. Those are most critical for future reading success. So blending, taking the individual sounds and squishing them together to make a whole word. Here's an example. Ah, p. I blend those together to make mop. That's going to support students' ability to decode words. Segmenting is taking a whole word and pulling those phonemes or sounds apart. So if I took the word ship, I'm going to pull those sounds, segment those sounds into their individual components. Sh, I, p, ship. Segmenting is critical for encoding or spelling. So blending and segmenting are the most critical, again, for future reading success. Okay, second, this is a big one, everybody. When you're thinking about that letter knowledge, we want to build that knowledge with letters and sounds right from the start. So we're going to link letters with sounds, that link that speech that they're hearing to the symbol that represents it. In addition, we can start to teach lowercase and uppercase letters at the same time. They're partners in print. Kids need to be able to recognize both. And what's really pretty great about some of our letters is that the uppercase and the lowercase letters look almost identical. So let's capitalize on those to help students. Some of them also look maybe not identical, but somewhat similar. So we can help students identify those parts that are similar. And then for those letters that look very different from their uppercase to their lowercase, those are going to require more time, repetition, and explicit instruction. So we want to remember, use that alphabetic principle to build a strong foundation, linking the sounds of our language, the symbols of the language, right from the start. Thanks for joining us for a Quick Tip Tuesday. Hope to see you next week.